Oops. Alright guys, we are live here. No one's really watching right this second, so I'm just kind of getting the camera set up here. Best that I can. Just sliding her in. Got it on a tripod so that way hopefully it doesn't move around as much here. But as you guys can see, this is the live stream of wiring the RCM3 up a bit here, so we'll see if we end up getting any viewers here. But figure with this whole coronavirus thing going on here, I figure we might do a little bit of a live stream. Alright, so I'm going to try to kind of keep trying to pop back here and check in, so I'm just going to get started on my thing here. I'm going to turn my volume up. Maybe I can, Alright, we got one viewer. Jax, Vax, and Safety, thanks for tuning in. Alright, so as you guys know, I'm FS Honorable Fan 1000 here with another Siren video. It's just kind of just starting it off the way I usually do. Kind of makeshift film studio here. I got some lights, got my American Signal coffee cup, drink a little bit of coffee here, even though it's a little late, but I've been trying to stay up a little bit later. So, as most of you guys know, I got a horn for my Thunderbolt now, so I'm going to try and wire up the RCM3 here to the RCM1 eventually. So step 1 is wiring the RCM3 a bit, and then we are going to try, once we get the RCM3 wired up, we're going to try and then tie it into the RCM1 once I make sure it's wired all right here. So if we pop open the Thunderbolt manual here, as you guys can kind of see, this is a legit Thunderbolt manual. Got this from the city back in the day. They probably have a couple more. Maybe I'll reach out to them, see if I can get the rest of them, since, as you guys know, Sheboygan doesn't use the Thunderbolts anymore. So a little update on that is Washington School was taken down when they sold that to the private company. So that's sitting down at the DPW yard. Our Federal Signal friends took the Sunny Ridge siren, which I do believe is sold since then. And then US Bank is still sitting up and not really used. Off to the side here, if you can kind of see, is the RCM3 cover for the RCM3. Like I said, in other live streams, this came from Rockton, Illinois. I got it off a Boy Scout camp a while ago, so yeah, that's pretty much it with this. Alright, so here we go. We got the RCM3 schematic here. So we're going to attempt to get this wired up. I believe it's supposed to be wired into an AF timer eventually here. But first, we're just going to get wired up regularly and just get it going here. So I guess I can kind of explain the parts of the RCM3 here. So let me just actually pick you guys up and kind of move you guys around. Alright, Jimmy Gamer, TV7, nice to see you coming to the stream here. So, alright, so here's the parts. So this is RCM3 here. So here are the parts. So this is I think it's called Time-O-Matic or Sigmatic flashers. So this is like if you guys go to like school zones and stuff, like in more rural communities, this was a big thing to like make the traffic lights just like flash. This isn't like really like a smart thing like senses traffic and what's going on. This is mainly just causes like a traffic light to flash. So what basically you have here is an electromagnet, mechanical wheels. Yeah, they're simple, brilliant, and I was trying to get one back before I came upon this panel. I found one for real cheap on the surplus auctions, but I didn't end up buying it. And then luckily I came upon this pre-made panel because I was going to kind of make my own RCM3, but in the end I really didn't need to. So, yeah, a little magnetic wheel drives this copper kind of wheel thing around. And then if we would kind of take you guys off here, if you just look down in there, there's cams that spin. Maybe you can see it. This is the cam wheel here. And then those spin. And then there's basically switches that ride on those cam wheels and go back up and down, which sends power to the solenoids and such. Basically like an AF/AR timer, just spins a lot faster. That's kind of how that works. This part right here, if I can zoom in on it, that is for the RCM1 to kind of kick in and kick off and have this kick on and kick off during the Signalmatic flasher to kick on and kick off during the fire signal. Up on top, you just have your standard 15 amp fuses. I don't know really what it says it recommends to have for that wise, but those are just, I just threw 15 amps in there because if we would go over to the RCM one here, once I kind of just get the tripod to scoot over a bit, that uses the same exact fuse holder and the same exact fuses. So looking at it, I want to say that I threw new fuses in both, but I guess we'll kind of just wait and see. If you guys hold tight here, I guess, I'll just leave you with a zoomed out shot of the RCM 3. I'm going to quick go grab my multimeter and see if those fuses are new in those. Alright, and I'm coming back here. I'm going to set my multimeter to continuity mode. So for those of you, so this is kind of like a little bit of an electrical lesson too. So for you guys that are just getting into sirens and such, you can kind of see how I do my stuff, and maybe this is some tips and tricks for you guys to kind of do your stuff. So we'll just set the multimeter right there, I want to say. Maybe you can see a little bit. Hopefully the lighting's not too crappy. So with continuity mode, if you cross them together, it drops the resistance to 0 and you get a nice beep. So in theory, there should be no resistance on these fuses here. If it's the fuse is good, we should have good like the continuity. We should get a nice beep there showing that there's not an open in the circuit. Because as most of you know, in a fuse, when the fuse goes, the circuit opens to prevent the whatever load from happening, to prevent further damage. It opens up like that. So on the first fuse, looks like we're good. Second fuse, good. We got the beep. And then we'll go over to the RCM1 here. That fuse is good. And that fuse is good. So yeah, I must have bought new fuses for them, which is kind of a good thing considering that I don't know if Menards is really open during this whole coronavirus pandemic thing that's going on. So that's a positive, because a lot of stores are closing. I heard Kohl's is closing, a lot of other stuff. So it's open. Oh, Elise says, thank you, Elise, for tuning in to this YouTube live stream. She says that Menards is open. All right. So while we're talking about this, here's the Cyratone, little update on the Cyratone. So as most of you remember from my last post, it said that it was fixed. It is not fixed. I'm still out of my rotation pins up there. I'm not reading when the Cyratone activates 24 volts. Well, I'm reading 24 volts when I turn off the Cyratone. I'm still reading like 12 volts, which causes the amplifier to stay on. Theoretically, tomorrow I think the transistors are coming, and if you guys want, I can live stream me trying to fix the Cyratone, I think. In Raymond. Oh, that'd be cool to get a Model 2. Model 2s always fetch a good amount of money on the market. The 2T is still out there, but I'm probably going to end up taking it down so that way I can... Well, hopefully I'm not pronouncing things really weird, guys. So I'm just starting to notice. But I'm going to probably take the 2T down so that way I can put the chopper into the 1003 now that that's getting up and going. And then hopefully I will be able to have a test for you guys pretty soon. Alright, so let's get into it. I've been beating around the bush enough. Alright, so up here, if I zoom in on these terminals here, best that I can, you guys might be able to see that a little bit, hopefully. So this terminal here, according to the schematic in the Thunderbolt manual, this terminal here is for the fire, this one's for attack and alert, this is common, and then this is supposedly 110 volts. AC, so I don't really think we need the 110 volts AC going to it, and it looks like it doesn't really do much coming from anything, so I'm guessing that just went to power the AF timer, and if you wanted to wire it up that way, but we're not wiring it that way. This one right here is our tone 1, tone 2 in common, so that's going to the solenoids. So as most of you know, on the solenoid collector rings, there's only 3 rings, a common and then 2 positives. So the common always has power, and then each of them alternate or whatever you have it wired to do. So not really much on that front. Up here, we have our power coming in from the RCM 1, I want to say. I'd have to see how this is wired. I think that this is coming in from the RCM 1 here. This one also is coming in from the RCM 1. And this is going, according to this, to the, I want to say, attack and alert side of things. So that's just a straight bridge over. So I think that's what's telling the RCM1 to do its thing for the most part. And then it bypasses down here, so that way, because normally the RCM3 is only running while you're doing fire signal, and then but the RCM1's always running as long as the siren's running, so it follows off of up here for when we are doing just attack and alert and fire signals not being used, and then it follows off of down below here, kind of, when you're doing the fire signal. So I can zoom you guys out here. So it appears as if the 220 AC is going up to 1 and 2 here. So we're going to run some 220 here, God willing, in a second. So we will get that going here. We can make this stream as long as you guys want because I ain't really got anything going, and like I said, with this whole coronavirus thing going on, if you guys want to tune in and watch, we can do this more often if we want. So I'm just gonna have a quick sip of coffee here, and then we'll get this rolling again somewhere. All right. So for our 220, we have 220 coming in for the 2T here. So we'll probably just pull off of there. So I'm gonna grab my thing of Romex wire here, and then we will get that going. So I'll kind of just position you guys over here to kind of watch over here while I go grab my Romex wire. So I've heard guys say that they like Romex. Some guys say that they don't like Romex. Yeah, I don't mind it for stuff like this if we're pulling low current and you're just tying two control panels in together. Now, if you're trying to splice wires together and use Romex, it can be a real pain. So, I guess, like if you're gonna wire nut something, it can be a problem. But it's always fun trying to find stuff around here. Oh, that was the whatchamacallit. That was the Cyratone. So yeah, I just zip tie this to try and make it be a little bit neater. The one thing I like about the Romex is it's got all the wires in there. It's got your ground, it's got the positive, it's got the negative. It's all good to go then, so you don't gotta really dick around with it and run numerous wires. So it's nice for speed. All right, so we got our Romex here. We'll reposition the camera again. It's a lot of moving the camera around. It'd be nice if I had a camera person, but it's a low budget film. So right up there is, right above is the, whatchamacallit. Right up above there is the contactor for the RCM. Well, not the RCM2, but the 2T. And we will splice into there. I just need to go and grab a screwdriver from upstairs, so I'll be right back, guys. Alright, coming back here. Alright, I got my flathead screwdriver here. When working on electrical circuits, it's always great to just make sure that they're disconnected. Otherwise, you can have some issues. So already I have quite a bit of Romex going on, because before I wire this up, I'll show you something here. If we look over to the side here, that's my time clock that runs the 2T for the noon test. Right now it's not running because it runs off the dryer circuit down here because it's a 220 volt line. But so I have that coming off of there, and plus the power running to it, so I got quite a bit of Romex going on over there. But we'll just tie in another here. I don't think it should be a big deal because it's just temporary. So, yeah, you're positive to positive, negative to negative, all that good jazz. That one didn't quite want to stick in there. I guess it gets a little funky when you start going with more than 3 wires there. Alright, this is not looking like she's going to want to go. But I can just disconnect the clock for the time being here. So this one is for the clock. This one's just regular power coming in. You guys are probably watching, laughing. But a lot of this stuff is just trial and error. You figure it out as you go. So I've been doing siren related stuff since 2011 now, so I've made a lot of mistakes, and I guess bringing you guys along for the video is you can watch from my mistakes and probably not make the same mistakes. Hopefully. Alright, we got the Romex connected here. So we're just going to take the end. Possibly. Basically using this Romex as a really long extension cord. Spin you guys back around here. It's all wonky. Yes, Elise, I've been making videos since 2011. If you go back and watch, it's been quite a while. But, let me grab my wire cutters here. Well, I should say wire strippers. It's a wire cutters. No one's really asked me this, but I use this Klein Tools wire strippers. It's a pretty good one. My dad's cousin is an electrician, and he got it, and he didn't really like it. So he's like, oh, you want it? So I'm like, sure, I'll take it. Because at that point, I was just using a needle nose pliers to strip everything. It became a little bit annoying. Yeah, I would play some music in the background of this video, but don't want to get copyright claimed, because that would kind of blow. So with this ground, I'm just bending it back. Normally in an installation, we would leave the ground down there. But for this one here, we don't really have a ground line going to where it's going. So I'm just stripping the neutral right now, supposedly neutral, and then the positive. Technically in 220, there's not really a neutral. Because if you think about it, AC power, so your DC, it's basically, you can think of it as like 2 tracks that run in one loop. So you have your positive, it comes back around, goes back to the negative terminal. Now with AC power, which is what all this runs off of, AC power, it's waving back and forth 60 times a second. So for, I guess you could say, it's 60 hertz. So if you go under like some power lines, I know most people have like satellite radio nowadays. But if you don't have satellite radio and you're tuning into like AM, but you go under some big 450 kV lines like near a power plant or something, I know on 43 near Kiwani, there's some big 450 kV lines or 480 kV lines coming from the nuke plant. So speaking of nuke plant, I just uploaded the video earlier, well, technically earlier today. Sorry about the late upload, but needless to say, when you go under those lines, you can hear a static hum on your radio, and that's from the power lines emitting some electromagnetic radiation, because they're having so much power feed through them that it interrupts the radio signal a little bit. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so that's what that hum is it's moving 60 times a second back and forth. So in a battery, your electrons are moving from positive to negative. Well, yeah. So you are paying to use those electrons, versus like In an AC system, all the electrons are in your wire already. You're just moving them back and forth. So that's just kind of cool. But let me see. It's kind of hard to see the comments. I've been trying to keep a good eye on it, but I guess I could be doing a better job. Oh, here we go. Alright, now I can see what people are saying. Alright, so far last comment was Elise. Alright, so next, if you guys have any questions for me other than this RCM3 stuff, anything siren related, you can always leave a comment too about that. Like, it's not just this stuff. Because I know this stuff can be kind of boring to most people. I figure I'd just film it. Because eventually one day I'll die, and then hopefully people will not have questions anymore. So in theory, if this was like a permanent install, we would be using like a T-clip, like not a T-clip, but a terminal clip or of some sort, kind of like you see upwards on here, like on other places on this board. If you guys don't know what I mean, I'll quick go grab one in a second here. I have a box of them. Ooh, that ain't gonna work. There we go. But yeah, by terminal clip here, I'll quick grab one from up over here. I mean, like one of these things, like a spade. I think they're called a fork, I want to say. Oh, it doesn't really say what they're called, but yeah. Oh, it's got it on the inside. So the fork-looking ones are called a spade. The other ones are called a ring. So I don't really pay attention to proper terminology. I just call it what I call it, and I call it good. So theoretically, if I turn the test on, let me just double check my wiring back here because I want to get a little surprise when we turn this on. So in theory, what should happen when I zoom you guys in here, when I turn the power on, it should start spinning. Hopefully. And I'm just going to take this and put it somewhere else for the time being, because we're not going to probably end up wiring this all together in this video. So I always try to be careful, so I turn the dryer power off first before I supply power to the system here. Alright, so theoretically it should start spooling up now. Oh, there it goes. Alright, so far we wired it up right. That's slow. And then I'll grab something real quick here. Then in theory you should be able to speed it up here. And then how that works is it's just moving that wheel, or the magnet, the electromagnet closer to the wheel, and then that speeds it up. Oh, you can kind of see the cams going, so that's cool. Yeah, I don't know how good of a quality the video is on your end. On my end, it looks pretty good, but we'll see. So this is pretty fast. It can go really fast. Like, so this is about where it tops out at. And then you can, so like that fast one is more like what you see in America there. And then if you're slower down to this, this is more like the Broadmoor sirens, which I thought was always kind of cool. So once we get her all wired up and go outside with her at some point this year, we will hopefully give her a test at this speed, because that sounds pretty cool and pretty creepy, especially if you think about the Broadmoor system over in That was in Europe, in England, I think. It was the prison escape siren. So when a mentally ill patient would escape, that's what would go off. All right. So I'm a quick power down. Then our next step will be wiring up the solenoids, I think, which will be pretty cool, I think. All right. So I'm gonna bring you guys over to the 1003 now, real quick. Oh, kind of hard to get my tripod in there. All right, so here we are at the 1003. So what we're gonna do here is wire up the RCM 3 to the 1003. So I know in theory that the solenoids are supposed to be facing out like that, but just for the heck of this video, we're gonna kind of move them in like this, that way you can kind of see what's going on. So some of the wires got damaged when I was redoing this thing, so for the sake of everything on this siren, I just threw on some Romex, because that seemed to work pretty good, and that's what I had at the time. And not quite sure why I left the ground wire on this one, because the ground wire isn't connected to anything, because the siren does not have a ground on the solenoid collector ring. I'm trying to think. Hopefully I'm trying to keep up with your guys' comments. Like I'll try and go back and read and see where you guys are at. But yeah. So once again, this is AC, so it doesn't really matter positive, negative wise. So I know. So on the 1003s, most of you know like high low. So yeah, it's like high low sound. So that goes in, and it's got the springs pulling it out. So my thing is, if you remember on one of my videos of the Sheboygan, like the Thunderbolt 1003 full test, I think I called it, it was supposed to do pulse but didn't. But the solenoids are moving pretty slow. That's because I was powering them on 110, and instead of these springs here, I had them running on rubber bands tied to the solenoid. So, but in theory, if you're running it on 220, you need to have these springs here, and then it can overcome the springs. I know, so like, a lot of the times you hear weird humming, and you think it's the solenoids, but it's really those springs vibrating. So I know sometimes on this one you can kind of see it a little bit better, but sometimes people put cardboard back here, and that'll stop it from vibrating a little bit, but I guess I just never did that. But maybe someday I will. So yeah, I just gotta throw this wire in this one here, if I can get my screwdriver back there. So in theory, the goal of this summer is to hopefully have the 2T replaced with this thing, if all goes well. So I'm hoping that these wires will stretch around. Yeah, it's not gonna look pretty, but she should fit. The 500. How has the 500 been coming along? Well, the 500 is junk, as most of you, I think, heard. That so what happened was the city of Marshfield took the thing down because it was running for like hours on end. So I don't know if that's what cooked it, but something definitely cooked it because the armature had a bunch of melted metal on it. So I'm just going to kind of put it back together as is till I can afford to, 1, have a new armature made, or 2, have a new motor for it. So I know since the day single-phase motor technology has come a long way, so I'm hoping maybe I get a single-phase motor for it, because I don't have 3-phase now, and probably where I live when I'm older will not have 3-phase either. But I guess if I have enough 3-phase sirens, it just kind of justifies getting some sort of phase converter, whether it is a VFD or a well, VFD isn't a phase converter, but whether it's like a rotary phase converter or a static phase converter. But my deal is like if I like end up getting like a cyclone or something one day, kind of want to be able to run that, so I'm gonna need to get a pretty decent sized. They probably don't have frequency drives big enough for that. You kind of just need the regular 3-phase. Alright, so I got the solenoids all wired up there. Alright, so we got the solenoids all wired up. Next we're going to connect our wires to the RCM3. If they reach, hopefully they do reach, because otherwise it's going to be kind of a bummer and down this for nothing. Yeah, I know the horn support is still a nice vibrant red. Eventually I hope to repaint it, but as of right now, I'm not repainting it right now because it's still kind of crummy outside. But yeah, so I might have to muscle this siren around. Luckily I got it on a little cart, so I guess you guys can kind of see me look like a idiot as I muscle this siren around here, because I need to get a little closer to where we're set up over here in order to hook her up to the RCM3. So I just gotta move this metal detector and all this other stuff. But yeah, luckily, like I said earlier, I have it on a cart, so it's not too bad. But I'm just seeing if I can get it around this chair or not. Oh, accidentally ran over one of my wires. Yep, well, that's how it's going. Still gotta get a rotator motor for this thing, because I do not have a rotator motor. So I'm gonna take you guys off the tripod here, because now you gotta go around back of the thing. So this is where they kind of tie in here. This is where they tie into the collector ring. That's the terminal block there. This thing has all new brushes for this. I bought them when I redid it. So we got to find our common, and then it doesn't really matter what side tone 1 and tone 2 is. But neutral is this end one. So I'm just going to kind of pull all of them over. Then I'll throw my neutral wire over, so that way I can know which one my neutral is. I won't bring you guys back there again, because otherwise it's going to be a little difficult. It's just easier just to leave you guys over here. Siren vlogs are coming again, hopefully, God willing. Maybe this weekend I'll try and record something. But, just thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update on that. So, alright, so this one here, according to the manual, the common is this one, and it's got a nice C printed on there. Once again, this thing is dead. There's no power going to it. If you're working on electrical, I always recommend having the circuit be dead. I know sometimes you can't, but I'd always also lock out, tag out. I know no one's down here, so no one's going to be turning the power on me and giving me a nice zap. So this next one I'm bringing out is tone 2. This is tone 2 coming out here. I think I said tone 2. Either way, it's not the end of the world if it's the wrong tone. I'm sure no 1003 was wired the same in hindsight of things. And that means this last one's tone 1, in theory. We will give her some juice here. We will try tone 1. Tone 2. And then let's fire up the modulator. First, let's adjust the speed a little bit here. Let's go about medium. Alright, pretty cool. So yeah, you can kind of see that there. So I'll bring you guys back over in front of the Thunderbolt. God, if I can get her around here. So this might be a little loud, but let me just put you down here. Zoom you in a bit. And I'm going to kind of try and sneak around here real quick. Alright, so I'm going to activate tone 1 here. Tone 2. Alright, so you can kind of see that how it works, how it comes in, and then it kind of guillotines off. I probably won't want to stick my finger in there. It's probably not going to hurt quite as bad as a chopper, but it's going to give you a pretty good bruise, I bet. So here it is with high-low, running a standard high-low cycle off the modulator here. So I'm going to start it up. It'll start low as it coasts up to speed, and then it'll eventually get up to speed. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it works. Not really much to it other than that. I guess this video has probably ran pretty long if I had to guess. Yeah, 37 minutes. I guess that's pretty much it for this video. If I had to guess, guys, I don't really have much other to say other than this. So I guess tomorrow we could probably do another live stream. Other than that, guys, try to stay safe during this pandemic. Make sure to wash your hands and try and practice public distancing to the best that you can while still having somewhat of a life. I'm not going to tell you to live your life, but I guess we're all in this together in this pandemic. So I'll try and keep the videos coming here. If you guys have any comments, questions, always feel free to leave a comment. If you like the video, so that way I know what you guys want to see more of. And I guess tomorrow, if you don't want to see anything on the RCM 1, just kind of leave a comment and let me know what you want to see a video on. So I can try and explain most of this siren stuff to the best of my abilities. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2011, so I've been around the block a little bit. So other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and I guess stay safe.